So you've just seen how to add a user attribute to an order, so both the user on the front end can see it and you can see it on the back end when you receive an order via email. Now, what I also want to show you is how to create a success block. So within the bot, when somebody completes an order, they see a receipt within the bot. They'll also get an email saying that they have completed an order. However, what you also want to do is set up yourself for great retargeting. So what you can do is, after a user completes a purchase, you can redirect them to a specific block, such as a thank you block, just like what you'd see on a website when you complete a purchase, such as on Amazon. So what you want to do then is, after purchase, show these blocks. So let's create a new block. Let's call it thank you. And it goes off the screen, but if you just hit return, it'll create that block. So now, when a user goes to this block, they use the buy button, they enter their credit card information, etc. Once that payment goes through the payment processor, which in this case is Stripe, they will then be redirected to this thank you block. So here we can just be nice and say thank you, and let's add their first name, as I showed you in a previous lesson, to personalize it a little bit. So we can say thank you, Andrew. And then we could actually, if we want to take it a step further with the user attributes, we can say let's do open brackets again, this will be either replaced with mushroom, pepperoni, or sausage. So then let's say pizza. So your mushroom, pepperoni, or sausage pizza is on its way. Cool. So now we've personalized it. We've added the personal touch of whatever they've ordered. And again, this prevents you from having to create 3 separate thank you blocks for 3 separate ordering items saying these things individually. So it saves us from having to create extra stuff. Anyway, the advantage of this success block is not just to be nice and thank people. Obviously, that's a good thing to do, a good business practice, but it's even greater with your retargeting capabilities. So I'm going to show you how to retarget briefly here. So the really cool thing, what you can do is, if you add a new plugin and add the user input plugin here, or actually user attribute, my bad. So I showed you previously how to add a user attribute to a quick reply, but here's how to add even better retargeting capabilities. So we'll put this at the very top of the block, so as soon as somebody gets here, it triggers this. So let's set up a new user attribute and call it order status, right? So we've created a new order status attribute, and we're going to say, for the value, we're going to say yes. And what this means, how I interpret it, is when people get to this block, it sets them up with this attribute saying the order status, meaning the order status of the pizza, is yes, it's complete. The order has been completed. So to set ourselves up for retargeting, let's go back then to the buy pizza block, and let's add another user attribute here. Drag it up to the top. And to be clear, it doesn't matter what the positioning is. I just prefer it putting it up top. So let's add the same user attribute here of order status. And for the value, let's type a new value of no. And if I just type no, it'll actually default to not set here. I'll show you. So I'm going to add no with a dash just to differentiate so I know what I'm doing. Cool. So the way that this is going to work in terms of retargeting is very, very cool, and you should definitely pay attention. So let's go through the sales funnel here. So people get to the main welcome message. We assume they click on food, it redirects them to the food block, and then they choose a topping. So no matter what topping they choose, they get redirected to this buy pizza block, which shows that they have an intent to buy pizza because they've selected a topping. So obviously they're interested in pizza. So when they get to this block, the order status is incomplete. So the order status is no. They haven't completed the purchase. They haven't entered their credit card, etc. But since after they purchase, we redirect them through these advanced settings to the thank you block, that means that every single person who buys the pizza, who completes the purchase, regardless of their topping, gets redirected to the thank you block. Meaning, as soon as they get there, the order status is now yes, the order is complete. They've finished the purchase. So I'm going to show you a really cool thing you can do to effectively retarget these people, right? So let's go now to the broadcast tab, remembering that our user attribute is order status and the values are yes and no. So here, let's set up a sequence. We don't want to deliver the message now because that would mean that it's going to deliver it right this second to anybody. And that's probably not the most effective way because people could match these user attributes and maybe they are in the restaurant right now and we want to give them a discount for next week, for example. So let's go to sequences because this will determine who gets the message based on the amount of time since they've interacted. So again, we're going to keep this off for now while we edit the sequence, the retargeting broadcast, and let's add a piece of text. Again, we're going to use the same discount that I offered earlier. So let's say we know you want that pizza. And let's actually change it, make it more dynamic and personalized by, again, adding the user attribute that we did much earlier, that is topping. So we know that you want that mushroom sausage or pepperoni pizza. And this is generating that content dynamically based on what each user did specific to them. So we know you want that pizza. Let's add another piece of text saying, get 50% off any pizza this week only. Cool. So now what we have is an incentive for people to buy pizza, right? 50% off. Wow, that's great. So it gives them an incentive to buy the pizza that they were interested in, but they didn't purchase. But we haven't set up that filter yet. Right now, it's just targeting everybody who has used our bot. And that's not effective because everybody isn't going to match the intent that we're trying to target. So let's create a user filter and say, if order status is no, meaning they haven't completed a purchase, and if order status is not yes, because that means we're excluding the people who completed the purchase. Obviously, we don't want to give them a discount because they have no incentive to complete the purchase since they've already done it. We'd just be giving it away essentially. So we want to include both of these attributes because as soon as somebody purchases the pizza, meaning their attribute is yes, it doesn't eliminate this previous attribute. In other words, everybody who completes a purchase, their order status will still be no. It doesn't reset. So we want to target both of these. So if somebody's order status is no, meaning they haven't completed the purchase, and their order status is not yes, meaning they haven't completed it or gotten to that success thank you block yet, then these are the people we want to retarget, okay? So great. We have that set up now. So we're targeting the right people. We know their intent. They've gotten to the no block, meaning they have this value for the topping. So we're targeting the right people. We have the right message. And then at the bottom, let's add a gallery card, okay? And to make it possible so they can actually buy right here on the spot. So let's go to Pizza 2, the picture that we cropped from earlier, and select it. And slightly resize, oops, and click done. And I believe the original price that we had was $10, so let's make this $5. And let's also make sure that we redirect to the success block after the fact. So after purchase, show the thank you block. So then that means that we won't retarget these people again in the future because if they purchase, they'll get assigned that other user attribute that we're excluding. So again, we don't have it set up within this sequence right now for them to actually pick the topping, but let's just assume that they want the same topping as before. So let's do topping, assuming it's the same one they selected previously, pizza, and let's also include the attribute attached to the order, which was topping. So on the back end, again, we can see what topping they want, not just they can see it. So great, what we have is we're targeting the right people based on their intent. We have this message, this incentive to get 50% off. We have the ability for them to complete the purchase right here, and that's all great. And then the last thing that we want to do is a sequence trigger. So let's do based on last interaction. So the way this works is first interaction means that this message will only be sent to them once, the first time they interact with the bot. But let's make it last interaction. So or actually, my bad. So first interaction means it'll be sent to them the first time. Last interaction means it'll be based on these parameters and it'll only be sent once. And then we can also base it on a user attribute, which we're not interested in at this point. So let's base it on last interaction. We only want this coupon to be redeemed once. We don't want people abusing it. And let's set it to a couple days. Let's say 7 days after the fact, 1 week later, we'll give them this message to incentivize them to complete the purchase. And then all we need to do at last is hit on, and now this sequence, this broadcast would be active. So anybody who goes to buy a pizza, they're looking to buy a pizza, but they don't complete the purchase, we're going to retarget them 1 week later with this strategic message to incentivize them to complete the purchase. And of course, as I showed earlier with the analytics portion of ChatFuel, we can analyze the effectiveness of this campaign in there. So that's how to intelligently market to your bot users on ChatFuel.